Today's lesson is to learn how to draw a protocol in the Faxdiva software on the Fortessa. So today, as you can see, there are many labs and people who have used the Flow Lab. When you are making your protocol, you will choose the folder of the lab that you belong in. But today, for me, I'm going to choose the Flow Core because that is the lab that I belong to. So first off is you right click on your lab name, right click, new experiment. And then today, since we're going to draw it from the beginning, I'm going to choose blank experiment, and then I'm going to click OK. So now we have a blank sheet of paper, so to speak. So then I'm going to go back over to the experiment. I'm going to name it. So this is the preferred way of naming the experiment, in all caps, Fortessa 1, or F1 for Fortessa. Today is FL for Flow Lab, 3-letter abbreviation for the month, the day, and the year. So that's F1 FLJUN 3022. And then I'm going to click here, the needle, which is the folder. And then I'm going to rename it the same exact way, F1 FLJUN 3022. And then finally, I'm going to click the plus sign, which is right there. There's a tube name, right click, rename FL or F1 FL, this time 063022, and then underscore 001. So this is how the Flow Lab keeps track of your files, and that we don't delete them or lose track of them, and it's easier to find when the user comes back and says, I need the data from, say, June 30th. So as you can see on the Fortessa, the cytometer menu, there's a whole bunch of different parameters that the Fortessa can accumulate and acquire. We suggest that you delete the parameters that you are not using and focus on the ones that you are using. So for today, it's a simple 2-color protocol that we're going to draw. So I'm just going to select everything, and I'm going to click delete, and then I'm going to go back and I'm going to add the PE parameter, because that is the simplest parameter that we can use with Fitzy. And I'm going to choose here in the forward scatter, side scatter here, I'm going to choose height and width. And then the color parameters, I'm going to choose, they're already in the log, whereas the scatter parameters are in linear, and then the color parameters are in log. And then we're going to choose height with the color parameters and leave width alone. So going back to the protocol of interest, I'm going to draw 3 plots right away, because this is the way that that we traditionally do things. And I'm going to make a forward scatter by side scatter plot, and then you can change the parameter on the center of each axis. And then I'm going to change the second plot to forward scatter width by forward scatter height. These are the doublets. And well, I'm going to do side scatter width. I don't have side scatter chosen, so I have to go back. So I'm going to choose height and width again because I made a mistake. So then I will do side scatter width by side scatter height. And these are the 3 basic plots that we should start off with. Again, this applies to the way we're going to show you, but do as your PI says, and because they are your guide and leader during this adventure. So what we chose here is now we have to choose gates. There's multiple gates up here to choose from. I like to choose this gate right here for the first plot, and then as you just left click every time that you want to make a gate. So here we have P1. I'm going to click on the next plot, and you can see by the yellow squares on the edges here, and then I'll right click, show populations, P1. So the P1, the events that are showing up in P1 are going to be displayed here. And then this one is my first doublet exclusion plot. So I just like to choose a square because the way we've set it up here, the cells will go in a straight line. And then I'm going to highlight the plot here, right click, show populations, P2. And then on this third plot, I'm going to choose the gate here, square gate again, and I'm going to go like this. And that's our first set of plots. It starts with everything, and then as we go to each subsequent plot, it gets more and more specific. So now that we've chosen the FTSE and the PE, now we need to draw a gate, another plot like this, and then I'm going to choose FTSE area and by PE area. And it's highly advisable that you learn the wavelengths, the excitation, and the emission of the colors that you use, because it'll make you a lot better cytometrist, or it'll make it easier when you run your flow. So I'm going to highlight one of the plots, right click, show population hierarchy. This shows our gating scheme so far. And then I'm going to highlight the plot again, right click, and create statistics view. Okay, sometimes when you open statistics, they are already edited, sometimes they're not. You can right click when it's highlighted and then click edit statistics, and then choose any statistic that you want, any population that you want. Again, here are the statistics. There's a ton of them over here. The first column is a header, and that is a lot of stuff that they've thrown in here, but as we like to do, the simple the better, and just click sample ID, and it takes a lot of things away, making your statistics and your populations a lot more simple. And the statistics, I usually choose the mean, and then go from there. With all these statistics, you can add a lot, and there's a lot of information that you can acquire, but also that means you have to digest it as well. So I'm going to click OK. I'm going to go back to the population hierarchy, and I'm going to highlight P3, which means that you're choosing the next gate to be in line with our gating strategy already. So now that I've highlighted P3, I'm going to go back over here, and I'm going to click a quadrant, and I'm going to click it, and I'm just going to click in here, and that draws the quadrant inside the plot to where we have double negative, single positive PE, double positive FTSE and PE, and then single positive FTSE alone. And then another thing over here is we can double click, change whatever color we'd like. From our experience, red on a black background is very appealing, and it prints very well, although people tend to take the data back to their lab and analyze it. So I'm going to highlight a plot, and then I'm going to hit the shift button, and then click each subsequent plot, and then go over here to the middle for the background color, and there's a bunch of colors you can choose. So I'm going to choose black. All the plots are black now, so that the red dots will show up very nicely on the protocol. And then you can move the plots around, adjust them to get the most that is visually appealing to you, and that'll make it easier for you to understand the information that's going to show up in the protocol. So that is how you make a 2-parameter plot or 2-parameter protocol. There are many other ways that you can draw gates, and you can draw single plots, like a histogram plot right here. Choose a histogram, single plot, and choose the area parameter there, or different ways you can do it. It's all up to you and your PI and how you discuss to go forward and which way is the best. So in our next lesson, we will learn how to put beads on the plot, adjust populations, and adjust compensation. And thank you for your time.